We live in a world that often seems intent on measuring our lives by the ticking of the clock, by years, by accomplishments, by what we have built or lost. But sometimes time feels like it has slipped through our fingers, as if we have squandered years in pursuit of dreams that are now distant echoes. There are moments when we stand at the edge of our own brokenness, surrounded by the rubble of what could have been, and we wonder, can anything truly be restored? It is in these moments, when we are most fragile, that we begin to glimpse something more profound. We may have lost much time, opportunity, relationships, and ambitions, but we have not lost everything. There is a truth that runs deeper than the disappointments of life, a truth rooted in the very essence of who we are. That truth is that restoration is not merely a possibility, but a promise. God does not measure our lives in a way that we often do. We look at time as a finite resource, but He sees it differently. He is not confined by the limitations of chronology. While we may see a broken dream or a lost year as an irreversible misstep, God sees potential. Where we see an empty page, He sees a blank canvas, ready to be filled with new colors, with new purposes, and with greater beauty than we could ever have imagined. We must recognize that our dreams, like our lives, are often reshaped not by our own doing, but by divine intervention. It is not always in the straightforward paths of our plans that we find the deepest fulfillment, but in the unexpected detours and the struggles we would never have chosen. God has a way of bringing life to those places we thought were beyond repair. The process of restoration is often slow and imperceptible. Like a gardener tending to the soil, God works quietly, sometimes beneath the surface, before the new growth begins to appear. There may be seasons of waiting, times when the pain of what we have lost seems unbearable. But it is in those very seasons that God is preparing us for something more lasting and far more significant than we could ever have conceived. In the stillness of these waiting seasons, let us remember that the restoration of lost years and broken dreams does not mean that things will be exactly as they were. It means that the divine hand works in ways that transcend the past. The years that seem lost may become the very soil from which something greater grows. The dreams that have shattered may become the foundation of new visions. God does not restore simply to recreate what was. He restores to make all things new. And in that newness we find strength, wisdom, and the deep assurance that no time is ever wasted when it is in His hands. For the dreams that seem beyond reach, there is always the hope of a new beginning, a renewed vision, and the promise that the years lost to us are never lost to Him. So let us take heart. The restoration of broken dreams and lost years is not a distant ideal, it is a living, breathing reality. It is the whisper of hope in the face of despair, the spark of life in the midst of decay. Even when it seems that all is lost, God is working quietly, powerfully to restore, and in His hands no dream is ever truly beyond recovery. Society often measures success by how much time has passed, how old you are, how long you've been in a job, or how long it took you to reach a goal. However, true value comes not from the clock, but from personal growth. The development of character, skills, and wisdom is what truly defines a meaningful life, regardless of the time it takes. As we live life, we sometimes feel like time is moving too fast or that we've wasted it. However, no matter how much time we think we've lost, it's never too late for renewal and change. God's ability to restore isn't constrained by time, it transcends the passing years, offering us the opportunity for a fresh start at any point in life. We often see our mistakes, lost dreams, or failures as irreparable. But God sees beyond these setbacks. He recognizes the potential within us, even when we can't see it ourselves. What we view as failure God views as a stepping stone for growth, transformation, and future success. Loss, whether it be of time, opportunities, or relationships, can be painful. Yet, in every loss, there is an opportunity to grow in resilience, wisdom, and character. These experiences can shape us into stronger, more compassionate individuals if we allow ourselves to learn from them rather than be defeated. As humans, we measure success and progress by linear time years, months, and days. God, however, operates outside of this limitation. His timing is perfect, and he sees the full picture of our lives. What may seem like a delay or a loss to us can be part of a bigger plan, and his timing will always bring about what is best for us, even if it's different from what we expected. Restoration isn't something that might happen, it is a promise from God. He promises to heal, restore, and bring new life into situations that seem beyond repair. It's not a vague hope, but a guaranteed part of God's nature. His commitment to restoration is certain and reliable. Our brokenness, whether emotional, spiritual, or relational, becomes the very place where restoration can begin. When something is broken, it creates space for new growth, healing, and transformation. Just as a garden thrives in soil that has been tilled, our lives can bloom and become richer after going through the process of being restored. While we often focus on the small details or the immediate effects of a situation, God sees the grand scheme of things. He understands the context, the hidden lessons, and the ultimate outcome. Even when we feel lost or stuck, he is working on a much larger plan that we can't yet understand. It's easy to feel like our dreams are beyond reach when circumstances change or when life doesn't go as planned. However, God does not abandon our dreams. What may appear to be lost can be restored in a way that is beyond our imagination, with God's grace bringing new opportunities and even more fulfilling paths. We may regret time we've spent on things that didn't work out, or time that seems to have been wasted. But in God's eyes, no time is wasted. He can redeem the time we think is gone, using it for growth, for wisdom, and for opportunities we might not have had if things had gone differently. What we see as lost years can become the foundation for greater things. We often try to make sense of everything based on our limited human perspective, but God works on a higher plane. His ways and thoughts are beyond our comprehension. What may seem impossible to us is not a barrier for him. He orchestrates events, changes, and healing in ways that transcend our understanding, often for a purpose that we can't yet see. Restoration is rarely instant or dramatic. Instead, it often unfolds slowly and quietly, like a seed growing into a tree. We may not immediately see the changes taking place within us or in our lives, but trust that God is at work even when it feels like nothing is happening. Real healing and restoration take time and patience. When we are in the midst of suffering or brokenness, it's easy to feel abandoned or overwhelmed. However, God uses these very moments to prepare us for something better. Our brokenness creates a space for transformation, equipping us with wisdom, resilience, and strength for the greater purpose He has planned for us. We may look back on certain periods of our life and feel like time was wasted, whether it's due to mistakes, setbacks, or periods of stagnation. However, these wasted years often serve as a time of preparation, where God shapes us in ways that may not be obvious at the time. These experiences equip us for what is to come, even if it's not immediately clear. Life rarely follows a straight path, and we often encounter detours, unexpected changes in direction, failures, or challenges. While these detours can be frustrating, they often lead us to places of deeper fulfillment and purpose. God can use these shifts to bring us into alignment with His plan, leading to opportunities we may never have considered otherwise. When we experience the loss of a dream, whether it's a career, relationship, or ambition, it can feel like the end. However, in God's plan, broken dreams are not final, they are often the starting point for something new. What appears to be the conclusion of one chapter can be the opening of another, often leading to greater fulfillment and purpose. Restoration does not mean going back to the way things were before, rather, it means creating something new and better. God does not just repair the old, but transforms it into something more beautiful, more refined, and more purposeful. His restoration brings new life than simply fixing what was broken. Pain is an inevitable part of life, but God has the power to turn that pain into something meaningful. Rather than allowing our suffering to define us negatively, God uses it to shape our character and bring about purpose. Our most painful experiences can become the very source of our most powerful purposes when we trust God's restorative power. When we encounter failure or when our dreams seem to break apart, it's easy to feel like they are beyond repair. But dreams don't have to stay broken forever. With God's help, even the most shattered dreams can be pieced together, reimagined, and rebuilt into something more beautiful and powerful than we originally envisioned. Waiting periods in life often feel like times of inactivity or stagnation, but we are called to trust that God is still at work even when we can't see it. His plans unfold in ways that we may not immediately recognize, but in the waiting, He is preparing us for what's next. Trusting in His unseen work during these times is a key to embracing the future He has for us. Pain is a natural part of life, but it is often through our pain that we experience the greatest personal growth. Just as a muscle strengthens through resistance, our hearts and minds are stretched and strengthened through difficult times. Pain is a catalyst for change, leading us to greater understanding, wisdom, and resilience. When our old dreams fail or are destroyed, it can feel like everything is lost. However, just as a phoenix rises from the ashes, new dreams can emerge from the remnants of what we thought was gone. The experiences and lessons from old dreams can lay the foundation for more powerful, meaningful dreams that align with God's purpose for us. The waiting seasons in life are not periods of inactivity, but times of preparation. God uses these moments to shape us, build our character, and equip us for the greater things that are yet to come. Patience during these times is a key to trusting in God's timing, knowing that He is preparing us for something bigger than we can imagine. Every experience in life, whether joyful or painful, has purpose in God's hands. Even when we think we've wasted time or endured hardships for no reason, God can use all of it for good. He redeems our experiences, transforming them into lessons that guide us and prepare us for future opportunities. While we may work hard to restore or rebuild aspects of our lives, true restoration comes from God's vision. It's not about what we can do on our own, but about aligning with God's purpose and trusting that He sees the bigger picture. Our efforts are valuable, but they are most effective when they are guided by divine wisdom. We live in a world that values immediate results, but God's timing often operates on a different scale. While we may want instant solutions or answers, God's timing is always perfect. He works in ways that are designed for our ultimate good, even if it means waiting or experiencing delays in the short term. There are times when we feel like we've lost something for good, whether it's a relationship, opportunity, or dream. However, God has the power to redeem what we think is lost. His redemption is far beyond our imagination, and He can bring restoration in ways that surpass what we thought was possible. Brokenness is often seen as an end point, something to be avoided. However, in God's plan, brokenness is the beginning of transformation. It's through our brokenness that we experience God's healing, grow in strength, and become more aligned with His purpose. Our most difficult moments often lead to our greatest transformation. After experiencing loss, destruction, or failure, it can feel like our lives are in ruins. However, God has the ability to take the broken pieces of our lives and turn them into something beautiful. Restoration is not just about fixing what was, but about creating something new and more beautiful from what was once in ruins. Often we look for dramatic signs or instant answers, but God's work is often quiet and subtle. He is constantly at work in our lives, even when we cannot see it. Trusting in God's unseen hand is a crucial part of the restoration process, knowing that He is shaping our hearts, guiding our steps, and preparing us for what's to come, even when it's not immediately visible. Loss can be a deeply painful experience, but it often clears the way for something new and better. The pain we feel in losing something or someone can open our hearts to new possibilities and deeper joy. God uses the sorrow of endings to lead us toward the hope of fresh starts, where new dreams and opportunities await. We often feel anxious about the passage of time or the loss of our dreams, but it is comforting to know that both are in God's control. He knows the right timing for everything and holds our dreams securely. Even when things don't unfold as we expect, we can trust that God is guiding our path and fulfilling His purpose for us. Restoration isn't a one-time event, it is an ongoing journey. God's work of healing and renewing us continues throughout our lives. Each step forward brings us closer to wholeness, and as we grow in faith, our restoration deepens, shaping us into the person we were always meant to be. Sometimes, the dreams we hold on to may take longer to come to fruition than we expect, or they may seem delayed. However, delays do not mean that our dreams are lost or denied. In God's perfect timing, those dreams will unfold in ways that are even more fulfilling than we had imagined. Patience and trust in His timing will allow those dreams to come to pass. When dreams are broken or destroyed, it can feel like they are beyond repair. However, God has the power to restore and reimagine even the most shattered dreams. What we thought was lost can be remade into something even more beautiful, more meaningful, and more aligned with His purpose for our lives. In times of brokenness, it's easy to feel defeated, but those broken moments can serve as the seeds for future victories. God often uses our struggles and setbacks to build us up for greater triumphs. The pain we experience today can produce the strength, wisdom, and resilience that will lead to success tomorrow. Life rarely unfolds in a straight line. There will be twists and turns, detours, and surprises along the way. While these unexpected changes can be unsettling, they are often the very moments that lead to personal growth. God uses these changes to shape us, helping us develop the qualities and skills needed for our next steps in life. Struggles and challenges are a natural part of life, but they also contain the potential for new strength. Each difficulty we face has the power to build our resilience, deepen our faith, and strengthen our character. God allows these struggles not to break us, but to empower us for the journey ahead. Waiting can often feel like a frustrating, unproductive period, but in God's eyes, it's a season of transformation. During times of waiting, God works within us, preparing our hearts and minds for what's to come. These waiting periods are valuable, as they allow God to mold and refine us in ways we cannot yet understand. Dreams are not static, they change and evolve as we grow. What we may have envisioned at one point may not be what God ultimately has for us, but that does not mean our dreams are lost. They are simply being refined, transformed, and reimagined to align with God's greater purpose for us. Dreams that seem distant or altered can still come to fruition in a new, better form. Often we limit our expectations of what restoration can look like based on our human understanding and desires. However, God's ability to restore is beyond anything we can imagine. He doesn't just bring back what was lost, he often exceeds our expectations, restoring us in ways that are far greater than we could have dreamed. We may try to heal ourselves or fix our problems, but true healing comes only through God's power. He is the ultimate healer of our hearts, minds, and spirits. When we rely on Him and surrender our pain to Him, He works in ways that we could never achieve on our own, bringing true restoration to every area of our lives. It is often through our brokenness that God's purpose for our lives becomes most evident. When we are at our weakest or most vulnerable, God's strength and grace shine through. Our brokenness becomes a vessel through which His light and love can reach others, demonstrating that His power is made perfect in our weaknesses. No matter how big or small the setback, it is never beyond God's ability to restore. We may face failures, disappointments, or difficult circumstances, but God has the power to redeem every setback. Whether the setback is in our career, relationships, or personal dreams, God can restore us and bring us to a better place than we were before. The process of restoration is rarely instant or visible. God's work often happens in quiet, unseen ways. While we may not always see the changes happening in our lives, we can trust that God is at work behind the scenes, steadily restoring and transforming us, preparing us for what lies ahead. At times, we may feel that years of our lives have been wasted due to mistakes, missed opportunities, or challenges. However, God can use those years, no matter how seemingly lost, as the foundation for our future. The lessons learned during those times, the character built, and the resilience developed will serve as the base for the new chapters God is writing in our lives. Restoration is not just about repairing what was broken, but about making something entirely new. God doesn't merely patch up the old, He transforms it, creating something that is fresh, full of life, and aligned with His divine purpose. The restoration process is an act of creation, not just repair. What may feel like years of wasted or painful experiences can be completely transformed by God in a moment. His power is greater than the years we spend suffering or waiting. In an instant, He can bring healing, peace, and restoration to areas that have felt broken for a long time, showing that with God, no time is ever truly lost. The seasons of waiting are not periods of stagnation, but times of preparation. During these times, God shapes us, refining our character and preparing our hearts for what is next. Just as nature goes through seasons, we too experience cycles of growth, rest, and preparation that equip us for the future He has in store. Restoration is not merely about bringing things back to where they were, it's about bringing them to a place of greater beauty and purpose than we could have anticipated. God's restoration often surpasses our expectations, turning what was broken into something more beautiful and meaningful than we could have imagined. Restoration begins with God's grace, which is the unmerited favor He extends to us. No matter how broken we may feel, God's grace is always sufficient to restore us. It is through His grace that we are given the opportunity to heal, rebuild, and transform, even when we feel undeserving or inadequate. When we face loss or setbacks, it can be easy to focus on what is gone. However, faith in God's plan shifts our perspective. Instead of seeing loss as a permanent defeat, we begin to view it as part of a greater, redemptive journey. Trusting in God's purpose allows us to see loss as a stepping stone towards something greater. Restoration is not a quick fix, but a continuous journey. It is a process that unfolds over time, with each step bringing healing and growth. As we walk through life's challenges, God is continually working in us, restoring our hearts, minds, and spirits. We don't reach a final destination of perfection, but grow into the people God created us to be. The process of restoration isn't just about fixing what's broken, it's about refining us to be more like Christ. As we go through restoration, God shapes us, purifies us, and molds us to reflect His image more clearly. Every trial and hardship is an opportunity for us to become more like Him in our character, actions, and faith. No matter how broken or flawed we feel, God's love for us is constant and unchanging. His love is not dependent on our circumstances or our ability to fix ourselves. Even in our brokenness, His love remains steadfast, providing the strength and hope we need to be restored. But trusting God with our pain and brokenness opens the door for Him to work miracles in our lives. When we surrender our struggles to Him, He takes what is shattered and creates something beautiful. God can turn our mess into a message and our pain into purpose, bringing about transformation that we couldn't achieve on our own. Every story of restoration is a testimony to God's faithfulness. As He works in our lives to heal, restore, and transform us, we are reminded of His unwavering love and commitment to us. Our restoration is not just for our benefit, but also serves as a powerful witness to others of God's goodness and faithfulness. God doesn't just restore us for our own benefit, He restores us so that we can help others. As we go through our own journey of healing and growth, we gain the wisdom, compassion, and strength needed to support others in their struggles. Restoration equips us to be instruments of hope and healing for those around us. True restoration can only happen when we surrender control to God. We often try to fix things on our own or hold on to our pain, but God can't work fully in our lives until we release our need for control. Surrendering allows God to do the deep work of restoration, bringing healing and peace in ways we can't accomplish by ourselves. What may seem irreparably broken to us can be made whole in God's hands. He specializes in taking the shattered pieces of our lives and restoring them to completeness. No matter how impossible the situation may seem, God is more than capable of bringing healing and wholeness, restoring us fully to the people He intended. True restoration doesn't start with external circumstances or situations, it begins in our hearts. God works within us to heal our inner wounds, change our mindset, and renew our spirits. When our hearts are restored, our outward lives begin to reflect the transformation that has taken place within us. The strength we gain from being restored is not meant to be kept to ourselves. God uses our restoration as a way to equip us to support and uplift others. As we go through the healing process, we learn valuable lessons and gain strength that allows us to walk alongside others who are also struggling, offering them hope and encouragement. In order to experience true restoration, we sometimes have to let go of past hurts, regrets, and disappointments. Holding on to the past can prevent us from fully embracing the new things God wants to do in our lives. Letting go of old pain and embracing forgiveness allows God to bring healing and restoration into our present and future. As God restores us, He also gives us a new sense of purpose. Restoration doesn't just fix what's broken, but equips us to step into the next phase of our lives with renewed vision and calling. The restoration process can reveal new passions, opportunities, and directions that align with God's plan for us. Restoration is not about achieving perfection, it's about progress. We may still have flaws and face challenges, but through the process of restoration, we make continual progress toward healing, growth, and becoming more like Christ. It's a journey, and each step forward is part of the ongoing work God is doing in us. Our brokenness does not diminish our worth in God's eyes. Even when we feel shattered or less than whole, God sees us as valuable and precious. He loves us not because of our perfection, but because of who we are in Him. Our value is not defined by our circumstances, but by the unchanging love and grace of God. The process of restoration often takes time and requires perseverance. It can be tempting to give up when progress feels slow or when we encounter setbacks. However, trusting in God's timing and remaining faithful through the process ensures that we will experience the fullness of His restoration in due season. Restoration is an expression of God's unconditional love for us. Even when we feel unworthy or undeserving, God's love never wavers. His desire to restore us comes from a place of love, and His willingness to heal our brokenness reflects His deep care and affection for His creation. While brokenness is painful, it is also a time of preparation for greater things. God uses the refining fire of brokenness to equip us with the strength, wisdom, and humility we will need for the future. The difficulties we endure today prepare us for the blessings and challenges of tomorrow, shaping us for the purpose He has in mind. When we face a season of loss or closure, it can feel like the end of everything. However, in God's plan, the end of one chapter is often the beginning of a new and better one. What we perceive as an ending is often a necessary transition into something greater that God has prepared for us. His restorative work opens doors to new opportunities and growth,